economy on average in Africa is about 54%. So if from half your economy you can't collect, the government can't collect any taxes because it's all cash based, those governments are going to need aid. So if we're really serious about helping our countries to transform themselves, we need to try and build these small, medium-sized enterprises. That's the backbone of all our economies. Over 90% of all the companies registered here in the UK are small, medium-sized enterprises. It's not the multinationals. Right? The multinationals on average in Africa contribute something like less than 15%, 12–13%. Civil service contributes something like 20–odd%. Okay? But the main bulk is small, medium-sized enterprises. So that's where we need to get our sub-Saharan African countries into. Whereas now, sub-Saharan Africa, small, medium-sized enterprises is only 10% of our economy. So we need business people who can go in, make the investments, build these small, medium-sized enterprises, create jobs that pays taxes so that our governments can have the tax dollars to build our schools and run our hospitals. Because if they don't, they will need aid. And we need to move away from this dependency on aid. Okay, so there are lots more stuff I can talk to you about, but let me just come straight and talk to you now about what we've been doing. We have decided really that aid and charity is not the best way to help countries transform themselves. For those reasons, yeah, based on the data. Because it creates a dependency culture. It just doesn't help the governments. So the question is, are there enterprises that we can do, that we can invest in, that can tackle poverty, that can tackle social problems? Can we be creative enough to design businesses that can tackle poverty and tackle social issues, and maybe also tackle some of the environmental issues that we have around? And the answer is yes. And this is a growing area, and about 10 years ago, with some other friends, we started a network called the Transformational Business Network. It's a network of 2,000 disillusioned philanthropists. Because when you've got some money, the easiest thing to do is just to write a check and forget about it, and think that you've done your bit. But really, it doesn't change anything on the ground. Right? So this is a group of people who get on planes, who fly to a country they have a passion for, who walk the slums, who go into the township, who go into the slums, find businesses that have the capacity to take on new investment, willingness to have a new business plan wrapped around them, where we're putting patient capital for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, to help them to grow from employing 3 people to 100 people, 200 people, or in one of our cases now, 5,000 people. To employ 5,000 people in the slums. We have 5,000 families having jobs. That ultimately is what will transform our communities. But to do that, it's difficult. You know how hard it is to invest in Uganda. But Uganda is one of the easier countries, relatively speaking, in Africa. There are more difficult countries that we invest in Africa than Uganda. So it requires a kind of some courage, some risk-taking to go in, and a lot of time spent on the ground, mentoring and encouraging these businesses to grow. But it's designing businesses, thinking outside the box. It's not about making money. For those of us in the transformation business know, we make more money sitting here nicely in the UK, rather than getting on planes and spending time in the slums. So it's not about making money, it's about how do you make an enterprise that gives you a small return, because it has to be profitable, because if it doesn't become profitable, it becomes a charity. So we've got to design it so that it becomes profitable. Otherwise, we just go back to doing charity in aid, right? But can those businesses also address poverty and social issues? And from investing our own money 15 or so years ago, some of us have now left our day job, and we're now running a whole lot of different types of funds. And these are some of the funds that are there now that can address, that are addressing poverty issues. And this thing is just grown, and it's a very fast-growing area. As you can see, these are now significant amounts of money that are now being applied in various countries, in various regions, to build businesses amongst the poor, to make investments in local entrepreneurs and help them to grow and scale their businesses. So this is where I started. I made a trip to South Africa and didn't think I could take my children to a 5-star safari game park without showing them the other part of South Africa. So we spent half a day in the township just outside Cape Town. And what I saw there disillusioned me. That was the beginning of the journey for me. And if you like, that was a Damascus Road experience where God was just challenging me about using my gifts and my talents in a different way. And that was really the beginning of the book. Long story, we ended up going to one of the poorest regions in South Africa, in the Eastern Cape, a region with 80% unemployment, 30% HIV/AIDS. Now, as a philanthropist, I could have gone to build a school, which is good. We need to do more of that. I could have built an orphanage. That would have been good too. We need to do more of that. I could have built a clinic. That was also a good thing to do. But you know what? It wouldn't change anything. That's the problem. It would not change that community, that district. And what was needed was for me to throw a big enough stone into this pond that can create a ripple to stimulate economic activity to bring transformation to that region. So, in a long story, in the end, we ended up buying 22 farms, degraded farms, 40,000 acres of land, and turning it into a nature reserve, a wilderness reserve, because we wanted to run an ecotourism project that we can bring foreign tourists in, and when they come in and spend money, that's what we can use to create jobs and bring transformation. So that's what we've done. We then have a fence about 70-odd kilometers, elephant-proof fencing, reintroduced game, big game in there for the first time in 150 years, and this is now an up-and-running project for us down in South Africa. Using local materials and local people wherever we can, and then now also engaging in a whole lot of animal conservation. There's been no big game there in 150 years. So part of what I've discovered, we went intentionally to tackle the poverty in the area, but as a byproduct, I got to understand how challenging the whole conservation story is, and how we're destroying our environment and our wildlife. But this was the main reason we went. Our people used to live in those kinds of huts. Today, living in these types of houses. Coming from a biotech pharmaceutical background, I've got a strong interest obviously in healthcare. But healthcare is very difficult to measure. But healthcare is very correlated to housing. If you improve housing, health improves. So our measurement is on housing. So we kind of surrogate the market. And for us, we talk about standard housing. Standard housing is concrete floor, concrete walls, water, electricity, indoor bathroom, flush toilet sort of panel. Over time, with our investment, we want to know what percentage of people start to have standard housing. Because when they have standard housing, we know their health will improve. Right? So that's really an important thing for us. And we haven't had time to talk through this, but we measure a bunch of different metrics. So apart from our profit and loss and balance sheets on a quarterly basis, we want to know, is our investment making any change to our community? Is it really helping? So one of the things we measure is male-female. We measure average salary per month, excluding managers, because they distort. So we want to know, at the bottom, our lowest pay, is that rising year on year? Because if it isn't, we're just doing good. We're not really doing real transformation. And then, as you can see, we also measure the amount of income tax that's paid. Is that increasing? Because if we're not increasing the tax base, we're just do-gooders. We're not really helping the government of that country to make fundamental changes. Then we measure the number of people in standard housing over time. We also measure the number of kids who go to tertiary education. Because we want to know, can we really help people to change their fiscal discipline? Now, us men are the worst, right? We're the most irresponsible. Because when we pay salaries to these men, before they get home, half of it gets spent. Alcohol, gambling, whatever. Right? Women, this is what, microfinance only works with women. It doesn't work with men. Right? Because the men are useless at managing money. They just spend it. The women are more responsible. That's why microfinance will only work with women. So, but we want to help the men to change their thinking. Okay? So initially in the first few years, we imposed some kind of savings program for all our people. And that helps them so that they can send their children to tertiary education. Primary is taken, we take that for granted. Secondary, we take that for granted. But tertiary education, for parents to want to invest in their children's tertiary education is still a challenge for us. To invest in their daughter's education is an even bigger challenge. But we have to drive that. We have to keep pushing that. And then through the savings, we help them to start to own vehicles, and a few of them starting to own their own houses. And the reason for doing that is this. Firstly, it's very expensive living in the informal sector. You know, you and I are part of a formal economy. We go to our banks, we can borrow at sensible rates. But if you live in an informal sector, it is hugely expensive. Everything just costs more. The poor will always remain poor if they remain in the informal sector. We have to help them transition into the formal economy. When they start owning vehicles and start owning houses, they become part of the formal economy. They have an address, right? They're starting to pay taxes of some sort. And more importantly, they start having a collateral. Because when they go to the bank and say, I want to borrow for my daughter's education, first question they ask is, do you have any collateral? I've got a car, I've got a house, right? I have collateral. Do you have any credit history? Yeah, I've been in this job for the past 3 years, so this is my monthly. They don't need any more help. They are now part of the formal economy. If we are serious, about helping the poor, then my view is that we need to help them start to own some assets, start to become a part of the formal economy. Otherwise, it just gets too expensive. There's something else that I learned. Role models. One of the things we find in many parts of Africa is simply this sense of hopelessness. You know, when you have had generations of unemployment, you know, there's a sense of hopelessness. You can come to some of our towns where 80% of the adults are unemployed. They sit around, they wait for the pensions checks for their grandparents or their parents to come through. They're into drugs, they're into alcohol. It's a real sense of just hopelessness. And one of the ways to lift them is by giving them role models. This is Jake's Harlow. Jake's rose to be Nelson Mandela's chief of staff when Mandela was president. Looked after Mandela's affairs when Mandela was in jail. Headed up the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, Mandela Children's Foundation. But you know what? James's parents grew up on a farm next door.